The question is there a consciousness that is in this world that is higher than man, that is beyond in man's intelligence, which is in contact with man? People always tell the religious stories. And you never hear kids say God. I mean, people say, oh, I have a relation with Jesus, and I know that it's a relation. Well, many people don't believe that. Scientists, a lot of great thinkers don't believe it. They don't believe that there's a Jesus, and that there's anything that you're in contact with that's guiding you. But the question is just, is there an intelligence that is outside of the human experience, outside of the human realm, which is in contact with the humans? And I'm going to tell a story which I think absolutely proves that there is. And I haven't heard many stories ever that have, all these people always tell the religious stories, and you never hear anything really clear, because a lot of the story is something in their mind, and it's easy to explain. Well, that's, you were thinking this or something. Maybe you didn't know that you were thinking, or you were, there's easy to explain these things away. But I've got a story that is not explainable, that by any means this is 100% true, and I'm going to tell it right now. My mother, she died in 1984. Her favorite song was Danny Boy. And I mean, she was associated with this song. There'd be a group of people, her friends, would be sitting around 6 or 8 people drinking beers or something, and somebody'd say, hey, Bev, give us a Danny Boy, and okay. So she'd go and she'd sing the whole song, top to bottom, a cappella, and she had no guile about it. She loved the song. It was easy for her to do that. And everybody, oh, yeah, thanks. And so at the funeral, after the eulogy and everything, they played Danny Boy. Everybody was into, oh gosh, Danny Boy. So she was strongly associated with this. So now, about a year after her funeral, I'm wandering around, just wandering around the country. I was in Austin, Texas. Never been there before. I'm walking down the street, and there's an historic building of some sort there, and they have a little walkway down. I'd walked by this many times before. But there's a kind of a little cellar-like stairs going as well. I wonder what's down there. I went no particular agenda. I walked. There's just a few stairs. It's right near the street, and it's about 20 yards in from the street, and then the stairs, and there's just a few stairs, and there's a little window down there. So I walk down, and there's a lady standing at the window, and there's a sign there that says, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something to the effect of unclaimed inheritance search. You could search some sort of database. I was thinking, well, this must be just for Texas, but what the heck? I said, well, I'm from Washington. She said, no problem, and tell me your mother's name. And because I said there was a question of some life insurance, actually, which I actually brought up at the funeral, but everybody didn't want to talk about it because it was important. That's my family. But anyway, I never did find out. So I thought, gee, well, why don't I just ask if, I said my mother might have had some life, I'm not sure, And she said, well, what's the name and what's the date of her death and everything, what state? She punched it in the computer, and she said, no, in 1 minute she had to, no, there was no probate on that. And what does that mean? I don't know. I said, well, I didn't want to go into detail. I didn't want to think about it. I was not really, it just happened to come upon that. I wasn't really there to think about that. So I said, okay, no problem, thank you. So I was probably there 2 minutes. I walked back up the stairs, walked out to the street, which was a very short distance, and at that moment, an ice cream truck was just coming by, and it was playing Danny Boy, the song. I can hear it. I can remember the exact da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-dun, da-da-da-da-da-da-dun. And here's the thing. I have never in my life ever had I ever heard an ice cream truck playing Danny Boy. And since that time, I've never heard an ice cream truck playing Danny Boy. Now, I'm just putting it, how many people out there, is that a common ice cream truck song? I don't think, maybe you have heard it, but the very fact that it's not a common ice cream truck song, and combined with the fact that at that exact moment, the ice cream truck was there playing Danny Boy. Those two odds combined has to be billions to one. I mean, it's impossible. For that to be a coincidence is impossible. Nobody can tell me that was a coincidence. That was an intelligence that was not in my mind. It was not, colored by the way I was thinking or my perception of a misperception of something. It was just an outside event happening. Now, how do you explain that? How can you explain that? Well, the only way to explain it is that there's an intelligence, that there's a higher intelligence than human intelligence in the universe. It's proof. And I've had so many other experiences. I could tell you a lot of them. That's probably the best one. And what it tells me is that, first of all, we have a future. We're not just going to live and we're not the highest form and we're going to die and we're going to drop dead and that's it. It doesn't. The human race has something to look forward to. Now, it doesn't mean that that I, as Frank Rizzi, am going to continue after. I think this is where religion gets, this is the Mormons think when they die they're going to meet all their family members in heaven. And they're all going to be perfected and they're all going to go on as their personalities continue, which and people like Einstein said that's absolute nonsense. But Einstein also used the word God several times. He said that God doesn't play dice with the universe. So he believed in an order. He believed more in line with what I'm talking about here. Carl Sagan he just believed when you died, you died. But I think he had questions. He thought the universe was, he wrote Contact, which was an incredible science fiction story. So he had ideas about it, but he never made it clear. But it's fundamentalist Christianity, which is what America is absolutely inundated with. You turn on the TV and you see so many of these guys that Jesus died for your sins and accept Jesus, and it's such a ritualistic kind of we're sinners, and people need to be able to find some real contact. That's why I'm telling this story. This is something real. This is not pie in the sky. This is an intelligence. And so what do you make of it? I think that there's only two ways of explaining it. One is that the universe is a conscious, single conscious entity, and it has higher systems, like a cell in your body. It works on a cellular level, but then it works as part of a system, like maybe it's a liver cell, so it works for the liver. And then the liver is part of another system, which is like the organ system. And then the organ system is part of another system that's controlled by the brain. And then ultimately you have the whole body functioning as one body. But the cell, at the cellular level, things happen that are meant to happen. They happen at exact times. The cell divides at an exact time, and everything aligns in the cell. They don't know what they're doing. Those parts in the cell, they don't even know they're part of a liver. They don't even know what a liver is. They don't know nothing, but they're doing all this stuff. And that's how you could explain all this alignment that we have as human beings, that the alignment is predetermined. And it's a part of another system and another system and another system. And even though it seems so miraculous from this level, like that ice cream, it seems impossible. How could you ever, if you went 3 or 4 systems beyond that to it's not so hard to explain. It had to happen for some other, to keep this person, to keep this system going, keep this system going. And that's the whole universe is being one organism, one functioning organism. That's my favorite explanation. The only other explanation is that there's an intelligence which is able to intervene when it wants to, and set up a situation so that you're in contact, but doesn't intervene, chooses not to intervene. I tend to lean more towards the first explanation. And even Jesus said that everything's predetermined. Every hair in your head is numbered. You're just going along on a path. There's no free choice. Everybody says, oh, you have to make a choice and so forth and all this stuff. You don't make nothing. You do make choices. You choose to, but they're not really. If you're a predetermined being, what's to say what is choice? But I will say I did start having more of these experiences when I became when I started to meditate and keep my attention on my third eye, and then I started to become interested in religion and meditation and so forth, ask these questions, of course, and then that was when they started happening, true.